Wonderful Wednesday, January 10th, 2024. I hope you had a superb midweek day. And we're finishing, well, not finishing the whole book, but we're at the next section of this great read by Carol Boston Weatherford. She's a Coretta Scott King Honor winner. That's a big deal. And Eric Velasquez, oh my, his illustrations are the bomb. And we're talking about Arturo Schomburg. He built a library. He had some unfortunate incidences where at first he was going to study medicine or law, but because there was a fire, isn't it something, when he was younger and they could not verify his academic record. Back then, that was a big deal. Isn't that something? But he had genius within him, and we just read about how he was that type of person. He was very intellectually advanced, like all of our young people. Yes, they have the capacity. And he was an immigrant, and he memorized, did it say thousands of pages of testimony? His recall of detail was extraordinary. Yeah, he was a messenger and clerk at the law firm that was seeking to protect Johnson & Johnson's use of that Red Cross logo. So a brilliant man. I tell you, it's exciting. What a wonderful book. So now we're at another section, the book hunting bug. Hey, love this illustration. I wanted to find out, said Arturo Schomburg, what my own racial group had contributed. He could not get his hands on enough books. His curiosity about Africana, insatiable. Arturo had what he called the book hunting disease, knowledge syndrome. No one volume told the whole story, and no library specialized in the subject. So he haunted rare book stores, poring over fragile pamphlets with torn covers and leather books with paper mites between pages. Most of what he bought early on came cheap because white collectors considered it junk. Still, what he hunted was not easy to find, but Arturo knew what clues and markers to look for. Now and then he happened upon a prize. Yes! In Phyllis Wheatley, the first African American and third American woman to have a book of poems published, Arturo found not only a devotion to God and country, but also a biography as remarkable as her verse. Captured at age 7 in West Africa and named Phyllis after the slave ship on which she was cargo, she was sold to John Wheatley, but was sickly, and thus never trained as his wife's servant. Poor in health, but rich in a rare brilliance, Phyllis quickly mastered English and read the Bible. She studied religion and the classics and spoke several languages fluently. But Phyllis was most phenomenal as a poet. If only Arturo could have been a gull swooping and crooning above the waves as Phyllis crossed the Atlantic a second time, bound for London to promote her book, Poems on Various Subjects, Religious and Morale, in 1773. If only that same year Arturo could have witnessed that stroke of the pen, granting Phyllis her freedom. If only Arturo could have looked over her shoulder, seen her penning that praise poem to George Washington during the Revolution. Although she offered subscriptions for a second book, her final manuscript was never published or found. If only, thought Arturo, I could find that. Hidden treasures. Yes, my favorite. Frederick Douglass. As Arturo I'm sorry, I'm reading somewhat in the dark here, so the NN looks like an M. As Arturo fanned the pages of Frederick Douglass' narrative, it was as if a breeze, hold on. Oh, I tell you, this is such a surprise to have these great, stalwarts in this book. It was as if a breeze carried him to the riverfront plantation where sailboats first defined freedom for young Frederick. Like Arturo, Frederick loved the written word. He even broke the law against slaves learning to read. As Frederick escaped bondage, Arturo followed his trail from Maryland all the way to Massachusetts. And when Douglass roared against slavery, his speeches, agitate, 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 awoke Arturo to the power of the pen. With that aim, Douglass had rallied the abolitionist cause, winning pledges of support and thunderous applause. Arturo scanned Douglass's anti-slavery newspaper, the North Star. The publication's motto rang true. Right is of no sex, truth is of no color. God is the Father of us all, and all men are brethren. 10,000 volumes could not better define democracy. A printer's helper as a teen, Arturo imagined Douglass setting metal type and cranking the letterpress. A tall man with deep-set eyes and a long woolly mane, Douglass went on to become the U.S. minister to Haiti. In his later years, he bought Cedar Hill, an estate in Washington's Anacostia section, where he was deemed a sage, very wisdom-filled. Frederick's name, thought Arturo, in every archive should reside. The words that Douglass wrote would keep his memory alive. Now, I have to press pause for a second, because I don't know if you know how much I admire Frederick Douglass, but in this painting that I did last spring, it's one of my favorite places, the library. But what's at top? What's there at the top? Who's that sitting in a chair? Huh? Whose portrait is that? Yes, this is Frederick Douglass's famous library, and there's an actual photograph, and his dog is next to him in a chair, but I didn't paint the dog. But yeah, that's how much influence Frederick Douglass has had on my life. And this is in my dining room. Well, anyway, so anytime I hear Frederick Douglass, I have to salute. Now, I know he wasn't perfect, and he had, I don't know, questions as far as his marriages and all that. I don't know. But I know he was a smart man. He was ambitious, and I admired him. All right, and the last page we can do is revolutionaries. As Schomburg's search went on, he bought not only books, but also art, letters, prints, and rare African cameos. His was a war to combat ignorance and shatter lies. He needed an arsenal for that. From the past, Arturo enlisted an army of exemplars. His boyhood hero was Toussaint Louverture, leader of the revolt that liberated slaves in Haiti. Later, Arturo purchased military orders signed by Louverture himself, a freed slave with property and money. He risked all to join a slave revolt. Just a generation after American independence, Louverture led a revolution that lasted 12 years and cost thousands of lives. His troops fought off first the French, then the British, and finally the Spanish before victory was won and a Black Republic born, Haiti. For colonies and countries founded on slavery, the Haitian Revolution was a hurricane. Whispers of Louverture's name made slaveholders shudder. Wow, this was a brilliant book. Well, listen, greatness is within you. Keep on searching for knowledge and be a sage yourself.